So I want to be able to enter the garage door, at least one of the garage doors, just coming off the end of my driveway, continuing back into the garage. So I want the garage to be to the right as far as I can get it. So the setback is 5 feet. I can be within 5 feet of the property line, but what I've got here is I've got a tension wire off of this telephone pole that comes down, and I've got to be at least 2 feet off of that. So I went about 3 feet to be on the safe side. That gives me about 8 feet from this corner to perpendicular to the fence right there. So I measured 20 feet off the house and drove this nail in the ground. Came up here to the other end of the house, pulled 20 feet, put this nail in the ground, and then pulled a string from that nail down there all the way across this one and all the way to the fence line. And that'll make sure the front of the garage is perfectly parallel to the back of the house. So I wanted the inside dimensions to be 25 feet deep by 35 feet wide, and it's an 8-inch block wall, so that made the outside dimension 26.4 by 36.4, and then I pulled diagonals to make sure it was square. After I had it square, I removed the string lines and I extended the string lines further out into a location where they won't be disturbed by the tractor work, and drove nails so that after I scrape the grass off the area and dig the footing, I can come back and get on this nail again, and on all 4 corners the same thing. I extended this line out to the property line right here, so I'll get back on that nail. I'll go way down there and get on that nail, and then the same thing right here. I extended it further back so that I can get my master square reestablished real quick after we scrape the dirt and grass off the area. Have to scrape all the vegetation off the site where the structure is going in order to pass footing inspection. brick mason showed me this knot about 40 years ago. You can pull it tight. As tight as you want it. And then you can take it off the nail and undo the knot real easy. That right there will hold it. So that's how you relocate the corners real quick, and then I'll put the pins back in and measure the overalls and the diagonal again to make sure it didn't change. See, that literally went right back in the same hole. .36.4, and I'll check all 4 dimensions. .26.4, and the diagonal is 44.10.5. So that's right. But always check both diagonals because your 4th pin could be off. Right side overall is also 26.4, and the diagonal again is 44.10.5. So we're good. concrete's in the footing. Now I just need to go around to each corner and transfer the intersecting string lines down onto the concrete and pin each corner, which I could probably do with either a level or a plumb bob and just plumb down onto the concrete and pin it myself, or I could hire a surveyor to come and use a transit to shoot the four corners and pin it. That way the dimensions I know would be correct and it would be square. Or I could go the old school way and use batter boards, which you can see I decided to do. I've put my 3 stakes in the ground at each corner. And also by using batter boards, you use the string to set the height of the foundation, which will help me determine how many blocks and brick I need to order. And also with batter boards, I'll be able to pull diagonals again and make sure that my corners are located in the right place and that everything is square. So I got the batter boards in on all 4 corners, and this is the upper right corner of the building, and this will dictate the height of the foundation, this upper right corner, because we're going downhill from here side to side and downhill from here front to back. So this is going to be what dictates the height of the foundation right here. Probably just as critical, if not more so, is the slab height in the garage. I've got a laser set up on the driveway. That laser is set up 3 inches above the surface of the driveway, and it's hard to see, but it's projecting a line right back here where I put that little crow's foot right there. It's hard to see in this light, but the laser is projected right onto that. That gives me the height of the slab inside the garage, which will make the slab 3 inches above the height of the driveway slab. The driveway slab right now is pitched the wrong way. It's pitched towards the backyard, which is going to send the water towards this garage. So I need to make sure my slab in the garage is higher. That gives me room to pitch away from the garage. I only have 20 feet between the garage and the driveway slab, so within that 20 feet I'll have to build a little flume to make sure the water runs from right to left. So on this front right corner, the combined height of the foundation wall plus the 10-foot framing plus a 6-pitch roof has to stay 3 feet underneath the primary wire, which is the service entrance wire going into my house. And it just barely catches this front right corner, but I think I'll be good. So based on the slab height, which I marked on this vertical of the batter board, I determined the height of the foundation in the front right corner. So I shot that mark with my builder's level and then projected a level line to the other 4 corners and marked the other batter boards. If the verticals on your batter boards are not plumb, it's very important to mark the side of the batter board that the horizontal will be attached to. So the front string line is my control line. I check to make sure it's still 20 feet away from the house and running perfectly parallel to the house. So I'll plumb up from that string line onto the batter boards and mark the batter boards, and then the other string lines on the other 3 sides of the garage, I'll use a tape measure to double check the dimensions to make sure that the strings on the batter board are holding the correct dimensions. The batter boards are level, so I can just square down. So with the front string line established, next I'll do the parallel wall, which is the back wall. And I hook onto the batter board because it's stable, and I measure 25 inches. So my overall dimension front to back is 26.4. So when I mark the batter board back there, I'm going to add the 25 inches. So I'm going to 26.4 plus 25 inches, 341. Getting back on the front right corner, I make sure my string is straight and hitting the footing correct, and I go ahead and plumb up to the batter boards. So my front line is my control line. It's not going to change. So I'm going to go ahead and notch it into the 2x4. Well, timeout. So I put the strings back, pulled the dimensions, checked the overall dimensions, and then checked it for square. And I was going to plumb down in the corners and drive pins in the concrete, but the brick mason showed up. So he went ahead and just set his poles and plumbed down to the footing with his poles. And he was going to start today, but the material did not show up. So he went home, and as soon as he left, the material showed up. Okay, so they finished the block work and they backfilled it with dirt. And now they're adding 4 inches of stone, number 57. And this is as far as they got today. They'll be back tomorrow to finish the stone. So while they were laying the block, I decided I want to go with a brick veneer. I didn't like the looks of the block. So while they were laying the block, they went ahead and wet set the brick ties so they could tie the veneer to the block per code. And the brick is close to the house. It's not the exact same brick. There's some dark colors in the garage brick that are not on the house, but it's pretty close. So while the brick mason is filling in the top cell on the blocks, I laid out where I want my anchor bolts. You have to have 2 anchor bolts on each side of a garage door, and when you locate them, you need to take into account how many jacks and how many kings you're going to have that support your garage door header, and make sure that you don't put the anchor bolt in the way of the jack king column. The anchor bolts also need to be within the center third of the mud seal, and they need to stick up 2 inches so that you have room to get the nut and washer on top of your 1.5-inch mud seal. So I'm going to be laying this framing off from front to back and from right to left. So my first piece of pressure treated mud seal will be a 16-footer to go along the sides. So I pulled my tape measure back to 16 feet, which is roughly here, set back 5 or 6 inches, forward 5 or 6 inches, put my anchor bolts, and then drop in my other anchor bolts that are 6 feet maximum on center. Can't be over 6 feet. And you have to have an anchor bolt within 12 inches of any break in the pressure treated mud seal, and that includes the corners. And laying off right to left, I hook on the right side of the foundation, and I'm going to be using 12-foot stock. So I'll go 12 feet, my mud seal should break right about here, go back 5, forward 5, set those anchor bolts, go another 12 feet, next mud seal should break right here, so back 5, forward 5, and then drop in between. It's been treated for termites, and I put down a 10 mil poly vapor barrier, and I called it in for inspection in the morning. I'm not going to use a perimeter expansion board because I just don't like the looks of them. Pretty sure it's not code, so unless the building inspector makes me do it, I'm not going to use one. The pump truck got here at 10 o'clock, and the concrete truck is scheduled for 10:30. Just a little acrylic I got. So with the dummy joints cut in to try to control the crack, that's going to be it for now, and it's ready to start framing on, and I have the lumber package coming tomorrow.